Okay, Devin, so as I was speaking before, talking to you, what we wanted to do is to find, okay, if we have known starting point, known end point, and then we got kind of a midpoint that we want to run through, and we want to run those at that 45-degree angle like you were talking. I found somewhat kind of an easy way to do it, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically create a couple of reference points here. I put them on probably the reference layer that I created here. And I'm going to call this first one my start point. I'm going to make it look kind of similar to what you were looking at before. So I'm just going to say, okay, here's that starting point. Right now I don't care about elevation, so I'll just say add, and so there's basically my start point. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to go with here is I'm going to have some kind of an end point. Again, you had these, and so you were, already had those, and so it was nothing you were having to come up with, but you already had those, so, but, I'm just making some up here. Then I'm going to make a kind of an approximate midpoint here. And I'll just pick northing and easting on this somewhere. We'll add that. And so those are kind of my my points that I have here. Okay. Now, like I said, I probably want, if everything runs straight north and south, everything's going to work out fine just because I know how I'm going to draw those lines and how things are going to run. It may take a little more thought if they run at an angle or something, but when you do this, you could make these lines, you could head them at a certain heading if you wanted to, if you had a way to figure out what that heading was or had some way to solve for that. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to create basically, with this for my reference lines, I'm just going to create a couple of polylines here initially, okay? So this is just going to be a reference line. I'm going to put it on this reference layer. And I'm going to say, okay, I want to go from here. I'm going to hold shift so I can go straight up from it. And I'm just going to make it extend up past my starting point to right there. And I'm going to call it good. Then I'm going to create another one. Okay. My starting point is going to be here. Hold down shift, come down past this. Let's say that right there is good, and I'm going to close out of here because that's all I want to do for those, basically those two straight simple polylines. So then I'm going to use the line string because I want to try to solve for this angle across here. Okay, I'll just call this ref2. That'll be fine. I'll put it on this line layer I have, or actually I'll put on this reference layer. I'm going to say okay. Then in creating this, instead of doing it, the first thing I'll do is I'll select my starting point. But I'm going to do a deflection here. I'm going to, specify an angle and then choose a length, and that's going to show me where that's going to run to. You'll notice this line right here. So I'll have it run a little bit past that. Click, save right there. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'm going to do a second one here. Do the same line string. Say okay. I'm going to start here. For my coordinate, I'm going to snap this endpoint here. Go this direction. Then for my segment type here, I'll do another deflection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight ahead. Because I'll go from here and go straight up. Put in length. I want to go out where I go past it. Say save. Close out of here. Now I have my intersecting line. So now all I have to do is generate some points here where those cross. So I'm going to click my location, say that I want a intersection of lines. Choose this point, this line, this one. Say okay. Say add, and that adds me that point here. I'm going to do the same thing here. Right click, intersection of lines. Line 1, line 2. Click add, and now I've got those 2 points that intersect right there. And so now if I generate me a line here, so I'm going to say, okay, I want to generate a line string. This is going to be my utility line, whatever it is. Okay, and then I'm going to just click. So I'm going to go from here to here to here to here to here. I have that line. So I can close out of here, and then I can shut off all my layers other than that line layer. Oops, I didn't get it on there. So I'll just have to find out where my utility line is. But there's my utility line right there. So I'm going to put that on that line layer. Okay. That way I can shut off everything else, and there's my line. And so now if I was to do the measurements on this thing as well, if I came up here and I checked, I measured my angles. If I measure from here to here to here, that's my 135 degrees. Save that if I want to, and then if I measure here, 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 that's my 35 degrees. Okay, I could save that. If I turn on this reference stuff again, turn on my layer 0, I can also measure this angle right here, which should come out to be a 45. So if I were to start here, go here, here, that's a 45. Save it. And I can also go from here. Oops. I'm going to save that start point. So make sure I snap there. There we go. From there to there to there. And that's a 45 too. And I've also got that verification there that I've got those 45-degree angles. If someone were to come back and ask, hey, what were those angles? I could turn that information on for them. And they would be able to see that information right there. So hopefully that answers your question, and that shows you a quick way to do it. Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. If I need to know, a heading on the line, or I need to know something like that. So let's say that my line's needed to run at this 45-degree angle. One of the things that can be done too is if I explore an object. So let's say I pick this line, so my utility line, and if I click along right there, I can see that tangent bearing is 45 degrees. Okay, and so if I had an existing line that someone had created, so let me create one here real quick, just as a reference type thing. So just say I have a line that runs from here and it goes to here. Okay, and I need to know what that heading on that line is. I can go in there and I can explore that object. So I can pick the object, I can pick a distance along it, and I can just snap to it anywhere, and that's going to give me what that bearing is. And so I could always put that in as a basically as a bearing or a tangent bearing. So I could either use the 73 degrees, 54 seconds, or 54 minutes, 18.6 seconds, or I could, subtract that from my 180 if it was running the wrong direction, and I could put in those reference lines using that, and then I can also figure those same angles using the same methods I used here. If you have any additional questions or anything, please don't hesitate to give me a call. Thanks, Devin.